With the Detroit Lions getting set to play against the Indianapolis Colts tomorrow, everyone in the Detroit Lions organization and fan base obviously wants a win. But there is yet another goal, another conquest that the Lions could achieve that nobody is talking about or realizes. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. My friends, I'm going to tell you this right now. The reason I'm kind of laughing is because this is now the second time I've had to record this, because the first time I recorded it, I went literally the whole length of the episode, which at the time was 30 minutes, and I had not expressed what I wanted to during the video, and I was like, man, I went 30 minutes talking about everything else and didn't actually put in what was my main point, my main topic discussion other than that. So I was like, you know what, we got to restart, we got to go all over again. And I'm trying to laugh it off, and I'm doing a pretty good job of it. But this game, coming against the Colts, it's a pretty big game for me as far as what I think we're about to see here. I believe the Lions are going to win against the Colts. I believe they're going to win pretty handedly. And by doing so, the Lions will, one, sweep the AFC South because they've beaten every other team from the South, Texans, Titans, and Jaguars. And then, on top of that, it will mean that the Lions have now gotten back to a double-digit win season. That's important. Number 3, here's the other thing about this that I'm looking forward to, is simply put, the fact of the matter is that I don't remember how many times we've realistically played the Colts over the years, but I know it's not a whole hell of a lot. Well, the last time I remember us playing the Colts was when Peyton Manning and the Colts came to town on Thanksgiving and absolutely shredded us, and Manning was done by halftime. They then put Jim Sorgi in for the remainder of the game, which was, again, embarrassing. So the fact that I believe that's the last time we play, which I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but that's the last one I remember, I'm fully happy about the fact that we're going to get a chance to go to Lucas Oil Field Stadium, and we're going to have our chance to, have some revenge, have our chance to embarrass, because I fully expect that's going to happen once again with this team. And that leads me into why I think not only winning the game is going to be something that the Lions faithful and the coach and team are looking at, but there's another thing that they could potentially accomplish if they do what I think they're going to do. And let me explain my reasoning here, and I'm going to make sure that I actually put it in here at some point, not wait till the very end. Let's first and foremost take a look at the Lions offense versus the Colts defense and vice versa. It's like I do with every episode that's related to this kind of structure. Take a look at the Lions offense. Not going to take a whole lot of time with this one, but when you take a look at the numbers, it's pretty plainly obvious. This Lions offense is a top 10 offense. In fact, it's not a top 10 offense, it's a top 8 offense, because the lowest ranking that's up on that screen is number 8, and that's for our passing yards total. You're talking about an offense that is absolutely prolific, explosive, dominant, consistent, whatever term you'd like to use. This is an offense that is damn near impossible to stop. The offense has shown that it has staying power. So that's the Lions offense. Now we get to the Colts defense. Colts defense, the best way I can describe their defense is it's literally like a step and a half above where the Jaguars were as far as their AFC counterparts. When you take a look at their defense, lots of rankings that are in the 20s and in the 30s. There's not a whole lot about this defense that looks particularly good at face value. The only thing I can say that is good about this defense is their ability to, 1, get turnovers, because that's actually ranked top 10. It's tied for 7th. They also have the ability to hurry the quarterback quite a bit, and they also have a decent number of sacks. It's not top 10, but it is top half in the league. So here's what I'm going to say. The Lions have had a propensity this year for not turning the ball over. They're definitely going to have to continue to do so against this Colts defense. And as we have seen the last couple of games, they've done a pretty good job of keeping, Jared Goff upright in the pocket. So again, that's going to have to be another area of high importance for the Lions offense going into this game. But pretty much what we break down to here is Lions offense, explosive, dominant, can't be stopped. And when we look at the Colts defense, for the most part, they couldn't stop a freaking wet fart in church. To put it ever so, kind of a little bit on the nasty side, but it's like, listen, that's what it kind of comes down to here. So on the opposite end of that, we have the Lions defense versus the Colts offense. I'm going to say this right now for the Lions defense. Every single week that I have sat down and I've taken a look at the rankings, I've taken a look at the numbers, I get more excited and more happy and enthused by what I'm seeing. This defense at this point now, it's not as good as our offense. But damn it, if it's not like maybe a half step, maybe a step at best behind it. All of these rankings are just absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. Just remarkably awesome. So when I take a look at our defense, it's aggressive, it's opportunistic because we get turnovers by the freaking bushel. We have excellent situational defense. I mean, for crying out loud, scoring drive percentage, third down percentage, fourth down percentage, red zone percentage, we are just literally tops in the league. And when you think about that, that pretty much makes us a formidable defense, if not an almost unbreakable defense. So that's our defense. Let's take a look at the Colts offense. Like I was saying earlier, the last time I remember us playing the Colts was that game on Thanksgiving against Peyton Manning. I can tell you this right now. This offense on the Colts has not a freaking resemblance to anything that Peyton Manning might have had. The only kind of resemblance that Peyton Manning would have had with this Colts offense was the 1 year he was sidelined the entire year and he wasn't suiting up. That is about the equivalency here because the Colts offense, while it's not that bad, it's not good either. You take a look at this offense, for the most part, it's kind of hovering right around in the middle. There's some good rankings, there's some that are below average. But the one thing I will say about this offense is that it's one-dimensional. Their passing game is absolutely horrendous. Their passer rating as a team is literally 3 spots from the bottom. Their completion percentage as a team is the very bottom. Their passing game is their Achilles heel. Where they get the majority of their production from is their running game. Which, I mean, for crying out loud, when you've got Anthony Richardson, who is in essence a tight end playing at a quarterback's position, and he freaking runs like a gazelle, I would imagine you're going to run the ball quite a bit. And then you've also got Jonathan Taylor right behind him, so only makes sense. So, that's the comparison between the Lions offense and Lions defense versus the Colts offense and defense. Now, like I said, I fully expect that the Lions are going to have the ability to do another game like what we did against the Jaguars. I expect another opportunity to dominate. And the reason why I say that is because I believe the other conquest, the other objective here that nobody is talking about, and I mean it, nobody is talking about it, is the fact that the Lions can become the 6th team in NFL history by having two straight 50-plus games back-to-back. Here's why I'm saying this. If you take a look at NFL history, there are only 5 teams that have scored 50 points in back-to-back games. The last team to do it was in 2000, I believe it was 14 or 15, and that was the Packers. That was the last team to do it. So it's been about a decade, if not a decade, since it last happened. Here's the reason why I'm saying that I think this is going to happen. Number one, our offense, like I said, is freaking absolutely ridiculous in terms of its ability to be efficient, in terms of its ability to score, in terms of its ability to move the ball methodically down the field. Whereas the Colts offense, not really in the same ballpark by a damn long shot, might as well not even be in the same universe. And then the Colts defense is, again, the only area they're really good at is getting turnovers. So if our offense plays the way it's been playing for like literally 95% of the year, I don't have a problem with that because our offense has been ridiculously clean. We don't really have a whole lot of freaking turnovers. We have made it a very, high point of excellence and standard to make sure the ball is taken care of. So when you think about that, that factors in greatly into my reasoning as to why I'm saying if the Lions play the way they've been playing and the numbers as I have right here in my packet are exactly right, there's a very solid chance that the Lions could have themselves another NFL record where they could score 50 plus points for 2 straight games. And again, they would only be the 6th team in NFL history to tie that record. So, let me explain to you why I think that's the case. First and foremost here, let's take a look at the Colts as a team overall. The Colts actually have an interesting pattern that develops when you take a look at their schedule. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. It's from ESPN. What you're going to notice is that the Colts are 5-6. Of the 5 teams that the Colts have beaten, they have not beaten any team by more than a 1-score differential. Meaning, they only beat the team by 1 point to 7 points. That was it. And here's the thing I want to note here. The teams they beat were the Bears, the Steelers, the Titans, the Dolphins, and the Jets. The Bears, they beat early, but that really doesn't make a damn bit of difference. The Steelers, they beat early. That does make a difference. The Titans, they beat. Doesn't make a difference what time of year it was. And the Dolphins, they beat early. That also makes a difference. Here's the reason why. Most of the teams that the freaking, Colts have beaten either have crap quarterbacks at the time they played them, or, regardless of who the quarterback was, the offense in general was just bad, or, as is the case with the Jets, it's dysfunctional. Because, let's call for what it is, that freaking Jets offense, it has talent. It's just dysfunctional. For the fact that you have two Hall of Fame players on the same offense at quarterback and wide receiver, as much as I hate to say it, it's the truth, and you cannot seem to figure out how to make your offense work, that's dysfunctional. It's not that it lacks talent. So think about that, folks. Every single game that the Colts have won has been barely by enough points to win. Yeah, it's still a win, but you're not exactly showing your ability to be able to separate from the other competition. And then here's the thing. Like I said, all those teams either had their starting quarterback out, or their starting quarterback was bad to begin with, or it's just Aaron Rodgers, and it's like, listen, I don't know what the hell happened to him. I really don't care. It's kind of fun to watch him struggle, but he's not the same guy anymore. When you take a look at every single quarterback that the Colts faced when they faced them, and you take a look at all of their numbers, as I'm going to put up on the screen right now, you're going to see a very interesting pattern here. Despite the fact that the Colts have a very, very bad pass defense, only 2 of the quarterbacks have a 100-plus passer rating, which, funny enough, is Aaron Rodgers in probably one of his better games of the year as far as a passer rating is concerned, and Justin Fields, the guy who's more of a scrambler than he is a passer. Every other quarterback that they've faced, sub-90 rating or sub-70 rating. Like, you're talking about some very bad quarterback play, and yet these are guys that they barely beat. You should be able to beat these guys a hell of a lot more than what you've been doing. So, my point here is this. When we put this into perspective, the Colts have only beaten teams with bad quarterbacks, bad offenses, or dysfunctional offenses. They have yet to beat an actual good offense. They haven't had a chance to do that yet. Or rather, they've had chances, but they just simply can't do it. Now, here's something else I want to draw into this, because the one game that the Colts lost that absolutely makes me laugh in, in comparison to us, the Colts lost 37-34 against the Jaguars. The same team, mind you, we literally took to the woodshed and beat it like it was a freaking rag doll. That same team. Now, here's what I'm going to say. That Jaguars team, when the Colts played him, had Trevor Lawrence and Tank Bigsby. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't care if freaking Trevor Lawrence and Tank Bigsby had played in that game against us. It might have resulted in maybe another touchdown, if that. But here's why I'm bringing it up. Other than the simple fact that they lost against the Jaguars, whereas we freaking stomped an ever-living mud hole in them, Here's why I'm bringing it up. It's the only game that the Colts have scored 30-plus points on offense this year. That's a very interesting anomaly because you want to know who was quarterbacking that game? It was not Anthony Richardson. It was Joe Flacco. Think about that, folks. Joe Flacco had a very good game in that game, and yet, despite that, because the Colts defense was as bad as it was, they still lost to the Jaguars. A 2-8 team on the year? Yeah, so that's rather bad looking for the Colts. So, my point here for this whole thing is, in the Colts' best offensive outing of the entirety of the season, which, if I recall correctly, was Week 5, they scored the same amount of points in that game that we, the Lions offense, score on average for a game. We score on average 33.6 points per game. That's our point per game average, which, I know simple math, 33.6, you round up, it's 34. The exact same damn amount that the Colts scored in their best outing. Think about that, folks. That's actually kind of rather embarrassing. What we score on average for one game is the amount that they have scored for their best game of the whole year. Yeah. My point of the matter is this. While Anthony Richardson might be a talented, gifted quarterback physically, he is a very erratic, raw, green quarterback. He makes bad decisions way too much. He puts his body in harm's way too much. And I'm telling you this right now. That is a big reason why the Colts have had such a hard time winning. Because when your offense has a quarterback like Anthony Richardson that's underdeveloped, has no concept of actually playing at a professional level because he only played one really good year in freaking college, and by good, I just mean that he made a lot of news, because if you take a look at his college stats when he was at Florida, they weren't anything to write home about. This is also the same Anthony Richardson that, that's right, 2 years ago, I had people begging, shouting, telling me we had to draft Anthony Richardson because he was the guy that would make our offense just absolutely go bananas. And yet, he's out there in Indianapolis, and this offense is literally like freaking trying to pour gravy through a damn biscuit. It's got very, very little ability to have any sort of efficiency. It's slow, it's sluggish, and it doesn't really do a whole lot. It's just not a good offense. And it's because the quarterback is not good. When you literally have to rely on your quarterback making these like ridiculous plays to just give your offense any semblance of life, yeah, it's not good because there's no consistency. It's pretty much, hey, we're going out on a wing and a prayer and we just hope it works. Not sustainable in the NFL. But anyway, when it comes to this whole point, I'm going to tell you this right now. When it comes to the Lions, there are two things that they absolutely have got to do for this game. The first and foremost thing they have to do is make sure they don't, freaking sleepwalk through it. Don't fall asleep at the wheel. I'm not at all worried about that because Dan Campbell does not let that happen. These players don't let that happen to them. They might come out sluggish. They might get themselves, out of position, but they don't come out flat. So that's the one thing that that I don't think they're going to have to worry about, but it's still something to mention. But the one thing that absolutely they do have to pay attention to, they do have to look out for, is Anthony Richardson. Because Anthony Richardson, despite the fact he's not a good quarterback, he is still a freaking tight end playing quarterback in terms of size. He's like, 6'5", 240, 250, and he can run like a damn gazelle. That's a hard physical kind of, opponent to try and stop. So, the reason why I'm saying that is because the only way realistically that the Colts are going to be able to beat the Lions is by Anthony Richardson and the Colts offense outplaying Jared Goff and our offense. That's really the only way it's going to come down to it because I don't see any other way the Colts are going to be able to win. Because if you honestly think that the Colts defense is going to stop our offense, you be freaking nuts. Because let's think about it. The Lions have played some pretty damn good defenses this year. And we've beaten them, such as the Vikings, the Packers, and the Texans, which, Coincidentally enough, all 3 of those teams we beat on the road. Every single one of them. We beat them at their own place. Which is funny because, that's right, we're going to the Colts Stadium at Lucas Oil Field, and their defense is crap in comparison. But number 2, outside of just that, our offense being able to outdo some really damn good defenses, our defense, I believe, is a perfect counter to the Colts offense. Again, this is a Colts offense that sucks at throwing the football. Just because Anthony Richardson had one good game does not all of a sudden mean he has seen the light and he's now turned into a good quarterback. That's not how it works. You want to know how I know this? Because you want to know what Anthony Richardson's quarterback, stats are for the year this year? His completion percentage is dead last in the NFL. It's at a 48.5%, which is ranked 36th. There's only 32 teams in the NFL, folks, which means there's only 32 starting quarterbacks. That means that 3 backups have come in and have played better than he has. But that's not even the worst of it. Not only is he ranked 36th in pass completion percentage, he's ranked 36th in passer rating at 66.2. And, by the way, Anthony Richardson is, I think, one of, if not the only quarterback that's been a starter this year as far as, prolonged lengths of time and also, started the season that way, that has a negative touchdown to interception ratio. Freaking Anthony Richardson has 5 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions, which then leads me into this other point. His interception percentage per throw this year is at an ungodly 4.3%. That's horrible. But what makes that so funny is the flip side that, you want to know what Jared Goff's touchdown percentage per throw is? The exact opposite almost. It's at a 4.7. So the same amount of percentage that Goff throws touchdown passes is almost the exact same amount of percentage that Anthony Richardson throws interceptions. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem for a Colts offense that, by the way, is going up against the number 1 freaking pass defense in the NFL. Think about it, folks. Our defense has the number 1 pass defense in quarterback rating. It has the number 1 pass defense in terms of quarterback touchdown percentage per throw given up. It has the number 1 pass defense in total passing touchdowns given up. And it's also got the number 1 defense in terms of quarterback touchdown to interception ratio given up. And actually, we're tied first for quarterback touchdowns, but still first. Quarterback touchdown interception ratio. Think about this, folks. The Lions have only given up 7 passing touchdowns as a defensive unit this year, whereas they've garnered 14 interceptions. That is a literal 1-to-2 ratio. For every 1 touchdown we give up, we get 2 interceptions. That's crazy. And to make it even worse, the Lions are top 10 to top 3 in all these other categories. Quarterback throwing percentage, quarterback total interceptions, quarterback interception percentage per throw, quarterback blitz percentage, quarterback hurry percentage, and quarterback pressure percentage. Every single one, top 10 to freaking ranking of number 3. Or sorry, ranking of number 2, because one of them's tied second, pardon me. But my whole point is this. You're dealing with a pass defense that knows how to make quarterbacks' lives on a Sunday day absolutely miserable. Which tells me again that the Colts, their best option is not to throw the ball. It's to run the ball. But even there, the Colts run into a problem because, that's right, the Lions' run defense is also damn good. We're ranked 5th in rushing yards given up, and we are tied 9th in rushing yard per average. So think about this, folks. It's going to be tough sledding for the freaking Colts offensive line, and I mean that quite literally. Which brings me into this point that I know at least one of my freaking watchers is going to enjoy. Whenever I talk about PFF and ESPN analytics, this conversation always comes up at some point during the freaking comments. But I found something that was rather interesting here, which actually made me laugh. When you take a look at the Colts, offensive grades in PFF and you compare them to the block win rates in ESPN, you are literally, and I mean this, going to see a mirror image. For PFF, the pass block grade is ranked 6th and the run block grade is ranked 30th. In ESPN, the pass block win rate is ranked 31st and the run block win rate is ranked 6th. It's quite literally reverse imagery. The only thing I can think of for that is that PFF calls a freaking scramble block when the quarterback's scrambling around and trying to extend plays. They might call that still a pass block. I don't know. But I also think then, on the reverse side of it, the reason why it's so different is that I think ESPN might be looking at the same thing and saying, no, that's not a pass block, that's a run block because the play's now broken down. It's no longer considered a pass play, it's considered pretty much whatever the hell happens kind of play. But the whole point of the matter is that while the Colts offense is going to at least be interesting to see what it tries to do, because they've at least got some options to work with, the exact opposite is not the case for the freaking Colts defense. Again, Colts defense is absolutely horrible, terrible, horrendous when it comes to their pass defense. They are bottom 5 in pass yards given up, pass completion percentage given up, and air yards. So the total amount of air that travels from where the ball is thrown to when the ball gets completed. And they are bottom 10 in the NFL in passing yards per game given up. So think about this, folks. This is a defense that sucks at stopping quarterbacks. But yet, the only 2 quarterbacks that the freaking Colts have faced this year that are of any freaking good, at least as far as consistency has been concerned, this year is Stroud, which they've played twice, and Josh Allen. The rest of the quarterbacks they've played, I will mention them. Some of them you've already known. Tyler Huntley, Tim Boyle, Will Levis, Aaron Rodgers, Darnold, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, and Will Levis. I'm going to tell you this right now. Out of that list, it ain't too particularly pleasing. You're talking about a lot of quarterbacks that most people would probably have wished, hey, you know what? We can just shuffle them off the side of the door. The only 2 quarterbacks really that are on that list that most people would probably be willing to put up with, even though, they've had something about them that's bad or currently is bad, would probably be Rodgers and Darnold. That's about it. And since Williams is a rookie, he doesn't really count. But think about it, folks. As I stated, outside of Stroud and Allen, who are probably the most consistent quarterbacks that the freaking Colts have faced this year, every other quarterback they've faced is either really a backup quarterback, a journeyman quarterback, or a has-been, or they're overrated or overpriced. So most of the quarterbacks they've faced are just dreadfully bad. But yet think about this. Of the quarterbacks they have faced, I decided to say out of the bunch of all they've faced, who would be the 4 best quarterbacks by talent just based off of my opinion, which I think would be universal, but I can't say that, but it's just in my opinion. Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, and CJ Stroud. Those would be the best quarterbacks as far as talent right now. When you take a look at their passer rating for the entirety of the game, every single one of those quarterbacks during the game they played the Colts was 100-plus passer rating. For Trevor Lawrence, he had 119.5 passer rating. Aaron Rodgers, 114.7. Darnold, 107.1. And Stroud, 115.9. Why do I bring this up? The reason I bring it up is because, again, the Colts are so bad on defense that, think about it, they were able to allow Aaron Rodgers in probably the most dysfunctional offense to get out in front of them, and if not for a last second actual effort to win the game, the Jets would have won. Stroud is behind probably the worst offensive line in the NFL in terms of being able to protect the quarterback. Sam Darnold threw 2 first-half interceptions and then was able to come back and throw 3 second-half touchdowns. And Trevor Lawrence, I'm just going to call for what it is. He's just a prettier, freaking souped-up version of Daniel Jones. That's it. The numbers are virtually the exact same thing. So the reason why I bring this up is I then decided to say, okay, since these are the 4 best quarterbacks by talent, and this is their passer ratings for the game, what would their total passing numbers be if you were to pull them all together and average them? And the reason I'm doing this is because I then compared those numbers with what the average is for Jared Goff on the season. Here's what the average was for all 4 of those quarterbacks when playing against the Colts. They average 81.3% of completion rate, 270 yards, 8.4 an average to throw, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 109.7 passer rating. Pretty damn good numbers. So when I took a look at that, you want to know what Jared Goff's numbers on average have been this year? Goff's numbers on average have been 74.1%, 249 yards, 9.2 an average to throw, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, with 111.5 passer rating. I'm going to say this right now. This is probably one instance where I'm going to say the fact that the other set of numbers is better is a good thing. Because think about it, Jared Goff's been playing his ass off this year. But a lot of these quarterbacks have got something about them, whether it's their team or themselves, that's bad. But yet, as a collective whole, as an average group, they have higher numbers on average than Goff does. Which, that's right, deductive reasoning and simple logic would simply say this. If their averages are better than Goff, that would tell me that Goff is going to have yet another good day, most likely. That's just the law of averages. That's just deductive reasoning there. And it's not just that way for Goff in the passing game. It's the same for our rushing offense. The Colts are ranked 30th in the NFL when it comes to rushing yards given up. And, that's right, we have the best running back duo in the NFL. The Colts have not faced anything like ours on offense as far as the running backs we have. And think about this, folks. The Colts not only have given up some of the most rush yards per game, but they also, on average per game, give up a lot too. They give up on average 147 rushing yards per game, which ranks 28th. And again, let's think about this. Going back to the PFF and the ESPN block win rates, I'm going to just talk about it right now for the running. PFF run block grade for the Lions is ranked 3rd at 76.7, and the run block win rate for ESPN is 73%, which is ranked 9. So PFF has us ranked 3rd, ESPN has us ranked 9th. Pretty much what they're both saying is our run blocking is awesome. And we're going up against the 30th ranked rush defense in the NFL. That does not a recipe for good make. So what I'm trying to get at here to wrap this episode up now is this. The Lions have a chance to make NFL history. They have a chance to score 50-plus points back-to-back. They have a chance to, again, dominate the NFL and to further instill more fear, to further instill more kind of worry as to be like, who the hell is going to take on this team? Because I don't care what professional organization you are. You can be a bad team like the Jaguars or a mid team like the Colts. When you have another team that puts up 50 points on you, that's saying something. But when you have it happen for 2 straight weeks in a row, okay, now you have crossed into some very special territory. And that's why I'm saying the way the Lions beat the Colts is exactly the same way we beat the Jaguars. Same exact type of game plan. Score early, score often. At that point then, the Colts have no choice. They have to abandon the run, and they have to force Richardson to throw the ball. And here's the thing. Richardson can try and run all he wants, but one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to throw interceptions, or he's going to get tired and he's going to walk off the field and get himself a breather. Either way, that does us nothing but good. So I'm telling you this right now. Lions score early, score often, force the Colts to become one-dimensional throwing the ball. We win. End of story. And then at that point then, if you got Lions players in your fantasy team, or you just like watching our Lions players get all the stats in the world, sit back, enjoy some popcorn, and just watch the show. But having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon. And if you have not subscribed in the past, please, by all means, I encourage y'all to do that as well if you feel like doing so. Also encourage y'all to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. The more we do so, the greater the channel can spread and grow, and the more new content viewership we're able to bring in. And with that being said, I hope everybody got something out of the content and they enjoyed it, whether this is your first time viewing me or you guys have been long-time viewers. I also hope everyone has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.